The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 is a fantastic evolution of the Fold series. And for what it is, it's amazing. It's still not great at what it's trying to be, that being an actual tablet replacement, but a huge phone with a big, beautiful screen, yeah, sure, it gets that. Want me to explain? No problem, let's dive right in. So the Galaxy Z Fold 3 looks a lot like last year's Z Fold 2. It's very slightly smaller and lighter, but I wouldn't say the difference is huge when holding them. The Z Fold 3's sides are smooth and have this matte finish to them, which looks super sleek, but I have to say I prefer the Z Fold 2's ribbed size because it's much easier to grip and open the device. You will also notice that the Z Fold 3 comes with 3 colors. This awesome looking black, a silver and then a green model. None of that brown bronze from last year. Oh yeah, there's also a 4th version which is a limited Tom Brown edition. A fashionista's vision of putting blue and red stripes on a phone and then doubling the price. No problem, I've got you covered. Here, this is the Galaxy Z Fold 3 Tim Brown edition and it doesn't cost a penny more than the regular version. You're welcome. Let's move on. The camera bump on the back is a new shape. The sensors inside seem to be the same, but I dig the new, more minimalistic look. The cover display is still in this super weird narrow aspect ratio. Now, to Samsung's credit, it now has a 120Hz refresh rate, and it's still a super AMOLED panel that just looks lovely. You'll be using this screen a lot to check your notifications, messages, maybe reply to some of them. It's still an absolute torture to thumb type on the narrow keyboard, so if you can, just swipe type on it and pray to the autocorrect gods. As you can probably imagine, this screen is not great at anything that's beyond just simple at-a-glance stuff. You can see how I've set up my home screen for the cover display, just the calendar and then all of these quick use apps which don't require much real estate just to check what's going on. For anything else you will want to unfold the phone, and of course you would. Then why did you pay 1800 bucks for it, eh? The hinge feels super solid, it can stop at any one position, it confidently snaps in place when you reach the end, there's no creaking and no scratching, at least not for now, I hope it stays this way. Overall, Samsung really nailed the tightness of this phone. When you're opening it up, it feels solid and it feels like 1800 bucks. Yeah, that's where my money went. You've probably heard by now that this phone is water resistant. That's great news, but don't go dunking it in water. Its rating is IPX8, which means it can survive immersion in 1 meter of water for up to 30 minutes. I'd like to point out clean water. The X in IPX8 stands for solids, and X means no resistance. So no resistance to salt, dust, sand, the gooey, murky stuff in dirty water. Just keep it away from all of that stuff. So the screen on the inside is a 7.6-inch panel with an almost square shape. Its ratio is 1.25 to 1. Stuff looks big, and so does your keyboard. I complained that the external screen's keyboard is too cramped. Well, check out this treadmill for thumb gymnastics. Yeah, it goes without saying that both of these screens have their own issues when it comes to typing on them, both for different reasons. And Samsung knows this. By default, the internal keyboard is set to be used in this split mode. Yeah, my brain refuses to do that, Samsung. Granted, I think I can force myself to get used to this. I'll give it a month. I want to praise the new internal display screen protector. The Z Fold 2 had this rubbery screen shield on it, which honestly feels terrible, especially after a couple of months of use. The protector on the Z Fold 3 is some kind of new wizardry from Samsung. Also, Samsung says that it's much harder than before, but it's still a flexible sheet, so take it for what it is. In any case, this is the first screen protector I don't feel the compulsory need to rip off. Okay, press, enough about screen protectors, gotta move on. Okay, let's talk about the display. The internal display actually looks awesome, but that's hardly a surprise. Samsung has been at the top of its OLED game for years now. This here is a new panel technology which Samsung calls Eco Squared OLED. It's supposed to be more energy efficient and brighter, and I concur, the Z Fold 3 is bright. It's summer right now, I use this thing a lot under direct sunlight. not an issue. It also goes up to 120 Hz just like the Fold 2, so the phone overall has the snappy, responsive and smooth animations. It's fully in 2021. Now I'm a big fan of warm whites and natural colors, so I set the phone to natural mode and I also turned on Eye Comfort Shield. It filters out the blues of the image depending on what time of day it is. The Z Fold 3's screen just looks lovely. It's warm, it's inviting and it does not strain my eyes at all. I love it. Let's talk a bit about that hidden selfie camera on the inside screen. Notches and punch holes for the selfie camera have been this huge first world problem for a while now. Either that or complaining about them is a meme, but manufacturers are now finding ways to hide the selfie camera under a layer of active pixels on the screen. We've seen ZTE do it. Its latest iteration with the Axon 30 is just incredibly good at hiding the selfie camera. The Galaxy Z Fold 3, not so much. The display area over the camera here is covered by less pixels and they glow brighter than the rest. Personally, I find this more distracting than if it were just the glued out punch hole that I am used to, but there you have it. It does its job for video calls, which it is meant for, to be fair. If you want to take a selfie with the Z Fold 3, you use the selfie camera on the external shell or unfold the phone and use the main camera for selfies. It's also not a great camera, it's a 4 megapixel sensor which captures a lot of bloom and a lot of noise. It does its job well for video calls, which, to be fair, it's meant for. If you want to take a selfie with the Z Fold 3, you use the selfie camera on the external shell or unfold the phone and use the main camera for selfies. Now, a huge screen is not a huge deal unless you do stuff with it, and the Galaxy Z Fold 3 does stuff with it. For one, it now supports an S Pen. No, you can't use the S Pen from your old device with it, but a new S Pen Fold edition. It has a softer tip and a spring mechanism, which makes sure that you won't destroy the flexible display with it. This one is a separate purchase and it starts at $50. Come on, Samsung, you went through hell to get a digitizer into this phone with all the engineering and the software solutions for it to be able to support an S Pen. And you're not gonna include just a basic S Pen experience in the box, you know, so people can maybe try it? Like, here you go, there's a foldable phone with an active stylus digitizer inside. Yeah, you can use an S Pen, but who cares? Really? The software also makes good use of the huge display. I really hope that One UI 3.1.1 trickles down to the Galaxy Z Fold 2 because, let's be honest, there's no reason why it shouldn't. On to the first big improvement. See this stripe of apps here? That is the app's edge panel, which you can now pin to the side of the phone so it becomes a permanent taskbar. I love this feature. It reminds me of the old Galaxy Note Edge, a phone that I used as a main driver for 2 years specifically because of its taskbar and multitasking experience. I am happy to see that this is back. See, I can be doing anything on the phone, but I still have this strip here with my favorite apps and also the recent apps that I've been using, so I can switch around easily, or I can grab one and drag it over the screen to instantly get split screen. You can have up to 3 apps in split screen mode and a 4th one floating above them. I mean, it's overkill, but you can. Use case? Well, imagine you're watching a YouTube video and someone writes a message to ask you about an appointment, you bring the chat in, bring the calendar in, discuss your points and move on all on one screen. In all fairness, all modern smartphones can do this task by just quickly swapping from one app to the other, but if you're gonna have the screen real estate, you'd better use it, right? Also, there are still some apps out there that are very stubborn about working on a big screen. Instagram is a prime example. In 2021, Instagram does not have a tablet app. Why? So if you open it up on your Fold 3, you get this. Now, this just won't do. Well, go into Settings, Advanced Apps and use Samsung's beta feature to force Instagram to spread over the entirety of the display. There you go, Facebook devs, look at that! You don't need it for all of the apps, mind you. Actually, when it's in unfolded mode, the Fold 3 tricks app into thinking that it's a tablet. So as long as an app is not as terrible as Instagram and has an actual tablet UI coded into it, you should be fine. Look at that, Apple Music thinks I'm running it on a tablet and is showing me the tablet interface. Hehe. It's not all sunshine and roses though. Since this is almost a squarish display, there's still a lot of waste of real estate. For example, if you're trying to enjoy a YouTube video or a show, you get huge black bars as the video is made for wide screens. This is where I feel the foldables of today are still missing out. We are so used to and we have so much content for widescreen tablets, PCs, televisions, that this square shape just does not fit in. Samsung really wants it to be a mini tablet slash phone in your pocket, but in reality it isn't. It's a phone with a huge square display. And if you own a tablet, you will still find yourself reaching for the tablet very often. And therein lies another point. The Galaxy Z Fold 3 costs $1,800. For that type of money, you can buy yourself an iPad Pro and a really nice phone on the side. In my eyes, foldables will truly spread their wings when they are capable of unfolding to 16:9 or even wider ratios. LG did experiment with a rollable phone, which looked awesome, but unfortunately LG is now gone from the smartphone sector, so it's up to someone else to finish that thought. Now, I'm not saying the Z Fold 3 screen is useless. I've already outlined how it's good for multitasking. It's also pretty great for gaming. Games, most of them actually, seem to scale properly and you get a ton of screen real estate to play with. Now, whether you want to spend that kind of cash on a phone just to game on it, up to you, I guess. I can for sure definitely say you won't be disappointed by the performance. There is a Snapdragon 888 inside with 12GB of RAM, and the Galaxy Z Fold 3 is just an amazing performer. There's nothing much else to say about that, but I will note that the device does get quite warm easily. That processor power seems to be venting a lot of heat. It doesn't get searing hot, but you can still feel it. Let's talk about the cameras. Now, the Z Fold 3, it's not a camera phone. If you want the best that Samsung has to offer in terms of cameras, you're better off going for the Galaxy S21 or even the S21 Ultra. The Z Fold 3 very noticeably cut corners here with a camera module that feels a couple of years old by now. It has 3 12-megapixel cameras on the back, wide angle, ultra wide angle and 2x telephoto camera for portraits. Images look fine. They are somewhere in the flagship range. They're not the best, but they're okay. You've got that typical colorful, bright imagery that is a Samsung signature. Bright exposure, vivid colors, the greens on the plants and the blues in the skies are sometimes over the top, but that's par for the course. Details can get over sharpened and look a bit jagged, but in general, every time you press that shutter, you get a picture that's ready to share on social media. The 10-megapixel selfie camera on the front is okay. I've ended up with a couple of blurry photos with it and it's not that great with details. I like to unfold the phone and use the main camera for selfies whenever possible. But don't use the 4-megapixel internal camera, just don't. Alright, one more thing left to cover all the bases. Obviously Samsung does not have a lot of space in this technological marvel for a battery, but still it has a 4400 mAh cell inside. Now that's a good size, it's not the biggest, but all things considered is impressive. It doesn't last too long. You can last a day with it, sure, but you will be watching those battery percentages melt away. And that's not entirely the display's fault. You will notice that the phone kind of bleeds battery even in standby. Like when I go to bed, I will put it at my bedside at 100%, and when I wake up in the morning, it's down to 90%. Granted, I am using it paired up to a Galaxy Watch 3 because I went all in, and I am using 120Hz at all times because how else would you do it? But I feel like Samsung's software needs some fine-tuning. It's just so feature-rich that there's always something going on in the background, draining battery for no good reason. And that about does it. Should you buy the Galaxy Z Fold 3? Well, if you want a book-style foldable, this is a really good time to jump in and get yourself one of these. Samsung has truly fleshed it out, and I feel like it's a good product. If you're hoping to get some kind of a mini tablet experience, not really. I still stand by my statement that in this case you're better off buying a good tablet and a good smartphone with the money instead of dumping $1,800 on this one. So thanks for checking out our review. Subscribe to our channel if you want more of this pretty face, like the video, comment below what you think of the Z Fold 3, and I'll see you next time. Bye!